This is Minister Hill with the Sheepdogs Report. This is the Sheepdogs Report for August, September. And back in February, the Pew Research Institute, they did a survey. Now, the survey, what it said was that 2 out of 3 Americans, that's 2/3 of Americans, do not agree with the transitioning minors when they're minors. Okay? So it's really underwater by 30%. However, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats didn't get that memo. Apparently, they don't read polls when it doesn't favor what they want to do. They've decided to, guess what, go forward and try to nationalize transitioning minors. You don't believe me? Watch this clip.
Well, that is something that I'm working for at the national level, and we have, how can I say it, are hoping that we can have gender affirming here for our trans kids, and that it's a sad thing for us. I'm not totally. I don't know what effect we can have nationally with what we have going on in the White House and in the Congress. It's really very sad. If you were there, outside our door, we have a trans flag. Outside of our door in the congressional office building, we have the trans flag, as do some of our other colleagues. But that view is not necessarily shared by people on the other side of the aisle.
Astounding, isn't it? Second story. Just recently, there was a court case back in June. The Supreme Court had decided that parents could have an opt-out for school curriculum, especially that's pertaining to transing kids, grooming, that kind of stuff, what they call social transitioning, all of that. In certain states, which like our state, California here, or Colorado, or New York, they have what's called sanctuary policies. In those sanctuary policies, it does not outweigh the federal law. Okay, it hasn't been federalized yet. So therefore, we still have the option of opting out. Which brings me to the second story. Real Impact, Advocates for Faith and Freedom, which is one of our resources here, have decided to put out an opt-out form. Now, all you have to do is you go to realimpact.com. Once you go to the main page, you scroll down, and you're going to see a segment that says LGBTQ curriculum parental opt-out. You go to that, and it's going to have a download button, and you can download the form. What do you do with the form? You take it to your school, the school board, to the teacher, to the principal. And because it's a big organization, say, hey, these guys are lawyers, this is an opt-out. Now, even if this rejected and there's a fight, if enough people do this, then it forces the hand down the road where we can actually put it back on the ballot and fight it here in California, fight it in Colorado, fight it in New York. You can also go to Advocates for Faith and Freedom, and you can go there, and it has a segment that says parental opt-out. You go ahead and hit that button, and guess what? You can download the form. All right, let's get to the third story. Now, there's been a whole bunch of hoopla about Assembly Bill here in California. It's called Assembly Bill 495. Now, I just came from a very good conference. At this conference, Jack Hibbs spoke. Pastor Jack Hibbs of Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills. Anyway, let me explain what this bill is really fast. It's actually called the Stranger Danger Bill. That's what we call it, the Stranger Danger Bill. And basically, here in California, you can have what's called a caregiver to actually pick up children. In other words, if you have a babysitter, you don't have to be the parent that pick up the child now and take them, or even take them to a doctor. You don't have to be the guardian. As long as you have what's called an affidavit that comes from the parent, that comes from the court, and it has to be renewed every year. And this keeps strangers from picking up their children. If they're not on affidavit, they cannot get the claim. They cannot come in. Okay, now what this does, it erases all that. Okay, you don't need a background check. You don't need to have permission from the court. You don't need any permission from the parent. You could just come in and say, I'm here to pick up the child. I'm the new caretaker. Now, the diabolical part about this is that it's actually working into the hands of pedophiles and also those who would want to do the children harm, such as teachers who are LGBTQ activists and want to transition children when they think something's wrong or they think they're the parent. In fact, hey, we just had a story. I just heard a story about a parent. A parent found out that a teacher paid for an abortion without the parent's permission. I don't have that story here, but that's what happens. That's what happens when you don't have those gates and those roadblocks to keep that from happening. So anyway, Jack Hibbs is having a rally and lobby day in Sacramento at the Capitol steps. I hope a lot of preachers and ministers are going to be there. By the time this comes out, it'll already happen. So we'll continue this report. We'll continue this story on the next report. Fourth story. Now, this comes from First Liberty. This is a dad that's fighting a school board. Now, the school board, it doesn't really go into a lot of detail about the school board. And I guess because the case is still not supposed to be discussed that much, but as far as detail. But according to First Liberty, they were trying to indoctrinate their children and groom them with literature, okay, and curriculum. Now, he was fighting against the curriculum, but they told him that he had to, so he went and got lawyers. Now, Joanne Williams, she is part of an organization called Savita Institute. Now, Savita Institute are the ones that's doing the curriculum, that's putting out the curriculum for that school district. Now, I found this very interesting. This is what she had to say. This curriculum, it creates a positive feedback loop. Dig those words. It creates a positive feedback loop. Okay? I'm explaining this in spiritual terms what that means. Being transgender as a credible solution with a person struggling from identity. What that means is stronghold. And they think that it's normal, that it's okay. Okay? And then they start looking, okay, maybe something is wrong. Now keep in mind, these are children. The reason we send them to school is because they don't know nothing. They don't know anything. They're not smart. They need instruction. But you're supposed to go there for academic accomplishment so you can, become a... No, not them. Not here. No, not this school, good sir. No. We want to make sure that they have a positive loop. Yeah. We want to make sure they got that stronghold. Second thing is they assume that his children are confused. And he's saying, ain't nothing wrong with my children. In fact, the reason that he went to First Liberty is because it's a Christian organization. They were infringing on his First Amendment rights. That's what the whole court, that's what the case is pending on. So we want you to pray for Carlos. Also look for Carlos in your congregation, pastors. There's a Carlos, there's a Miss Carlos. There's some people that are going to be having fight, especially if you're in what's called sanctuary states. Let's move to the next one. Back in July. First, okay, let me just start it like this. Let's talk about what the Johnson Amendment is. The Johnson Amendment was a law that was passed, and they used the IRS to actually scare or control what churches say in their pulpits. It had to do with your 501c. So by law, you could not endorse candidates unless you endorse the other candidate too. In other words, if you had one come in, you had to have the other side come in. Whoever he was running against or she was running against. That was the law. If not, you could lose your 501c status. This case, it has been used to silence pastors. Now, there's the other thing that goes along with it, this so-called separation of church and state. That was never a law. It's not written anywhere. Okay? The idea actually came from Thomas Jefferson writing the Danbury Church. I don't remember what year, but it was back, before we were all born. But it was the Danbury Church, and basically what he was telling the Danbury Church, there's not going to be a state-run church like it was in England. That was out. There wasn't going to be a pope and a Catholic church that controls all the churches. No. Okay? And not only did it say that, it also said that the state cannot come in and tell you what to say in your sermon. They couldn't control what you say. That's what it meant. Well, we have an organization called the American United for Separation of Church and State. Okay. A year ago, 2 nonprofits and 2 churches sued the IRS. They sued them. And here's the thing, they won. I did not know this until very recently. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, they sued and won. The IRS came up, agreed, and gave them a settlement. That's why you come to the report, so you know these kind of things. Now, since then, the IRS has came out. In fact, in July, there was a decision that went out to all churches. You can now, guess what? Endorse anybody you feel like it. So you can no longer hide behind when it comes time for elections and policies and what's happening in the culture. You can no longer hide behind that no more. You can't say, oh, I can't say anything about, or churches can't follow. Nope, can't say that. Now, one good thing is we'll know who's with us and who's not. We'll understand the true churches, the remnant churches, that's going to stand no matter whether it's good in season or not, or out of season, whether the world likes it or not. And we're going to actually start endorsing people in policy. Plus, the politicians will have to come to us now, because we won't endorse you. If you're not a true Christian, or you trying to use us. So some good things are going to happen. Okay? If you want more information and you want exact links, you can go to empty2media.com, empty2 media. Pastors, if you want to look at some other videos, we're going to start putting educational videos on there of supporting Sheepdogs Union. You can go to Sheepdogs Union. You can go to our YouTube station. Okay, you can go to X and Facebook. You can find us. You can share, like us. Please share. And also, the brothers that are on our email list, or blast, or text list, please share this video and continue what you're doing, because I love seeing iron sharpen iron. So till next. Now, if you don't know what I mean, you pastors that's not on it, that's not doing it, start paying attention to that text line. All right. Till next time, this is Minister V. Hill with the Sheepdogs Report.